The world looks huge, but the entire global economy keeps squeezing itself through these tiny red dots. Oil, food, cars, phones, fertilizer, military ships. A lot of the world has to pass through these very narrow passages of water. And if one of these places gets blocked, attacked, threatened, or even just too risky to insure, this map can quickly move from this into gas prices like this. This is the part most people miss. A choke point is not just geography. A choke point is where geography becomes power. Countries fight over territory, but they also fight over movement. Who can move oil? Who can move ships? Who can block the shortcut? Who can force everyone to take the long way around? Because the ocean isn't really open. It has lanes. And those lanes have doors. Not actual doors, but yeah, they have doors. Let's start here. The Strait of Hormuz. This is one of the most important strips of water on Earth. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. The US Energy Commission actually puts together this really cool analysis every year, and they found that we moved about 21 million barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz in 2023. And that may not sound like a lot, but that's about 1/5 of the global petroleum consumption. This is why crisis near Waterway makes markets nervous. The issue isn't just oil existing, it's oil needing a narrow exit. There are some pipelines that can bypass Hormuz, but they cannot simply replace everything that moves through it. The map has backup routes, but the backup routes are smaller than the problem. Okay, now let's move west. The Suez Canal looks like a shortcut, but it is so much more than that. It is the reason that ships can move between Asia and Europe without sailing around the bottom of Africa. The IMF says that about 15% of global maritime trade passes through the Suez Canal. And during the Red Sea attacks, trade throughout the Suez Canal dropped by about 50% year over year in early 2020. These ships didn't vanish, they moved. They moved around Africa, longer routes, more fuel, more time, more cost. And this is the weird part. The Suez can be attacked by a different choke point hundreds of miles away. So the global economy is not just vulnerable at this famous canal, it's vulnerable along these chains. And there's this gate at the bottom of the Red Sea, Bab El-Mandeb. And if the gate at the bottom becomes dangerous, the canal at the top loses traffic. Now, let's cross the world all the way to Panama. This choke point was not disrupted by missiles. It was disrupted by water. I know you're saying, oh, how can a canal be disrupted by water? Isn't it water? All right, I'll get there. Okay, the IMF says the Panama Canal accounts for about 5% of global maritime trade. So a lot less, a third less than the Suez Canal. See, I can do math. But drought restrictions helped push this down about 32% in early 2024. So a choke point can fail because of many things. It can fail because of war, politics, attacks, insurance, drought, or just simple congestion. There's different causes, but it's all the same result. The shortcut stops being easy. Then there's Malacca. If Hormuz is the oil exit, Malacca is the Asian funnel. It connects the Indian Ocean to the Pacific, right next to some of the busiest ports on Earth. EIA data shows that the Strait of Malacca held about 23.2 million barrels of oil per day in the first half of 2025, making it the largest oil checkpoint by volume, by like a lot. Here, look at this. This is all the different checkpoints that we're talking about in comparison to how much oil passes through them. And this is why China worries about Malacca. This is why navies care. This is why a narrow strip of water can become part of this really big military strategy. Now let's zoom out. Hormuz, Suez, Bab El-Mandeb, Panama, Malacca. These are not random places. They're pressure points. This is why empires, navies, and governments have obsessed over them for centuries. If you control the shortcut, you don't have to control the whole ocean, because you control the part that everyone needs. Map is huge, but the system is not. It doesn't break everywhere. It breaks in these really narrow parts, right? And that is how a conflict, a drought, or a single blocked route far away can move through shipping costs, oil prices, delivery times, military decisions, and eventually the world that we all live in. The global economy may look like a network, but behind it is something a lot older, just simple geography. A choke point is where this geography stops being in the background and becomes where the decisions are made. Thank you for watching The Hidden Media.